Alex, the Republicans may well be voting on their budget today. I heard on CNN this morning Republicans saying there's not a single word in there about cutting Medicaid. What's really going on?
I mean, their mouths are moving, so you know they're lying. What's really going on is that they're cowards. We know what their plan is because they are forced to write it down every once in a while. And what their plan is $880 billion in Medicaid cuts. It's a destruction of Medicaid. There are 17 frontline Republicans. These are the ones who are in the closest races. And in every single one of those districts, Tom, the vote margin that they won by is way smaller than the amount of people who will lose their health care if the budget resolution passes. So, you know, for example, you've got Valadeo in California who won by 11,000 votes. But if the budget resolution passes, 288,000 of his constituents are going to lose their health care. That's what they're terrified about. That's why they go on TV and are like, no, we're not doing what we're clearly doing. You know, in Iowa, Rep. Miller Meeks won by 799 votes. 66,000 people in that district will lose their health care if the budget resolution passes. So that's what's at stake. That's why they're waffling right now, because they're losing. And if you're seeing them, what they're putting out into the press right now, they're dancing. They're trying to explain away the fact that their budget is deeply unpopular and that Johnson cannot corral his caucus. I will also point out, though, and this is why, you know, it's going to be a very complex fight going forward, but it's the Republicans in the House who are in the pretzel. We have the truth on our side, the people on our side. They have a caucus that's riven with divisions, and they're having defections from the right of the caucus who are saying, no, we need to really cut into bigger programs. We need to go into Medicare. We need to do more on Medicaid. They want 2.3 trillion. So you have part of their caucus who is saying, you know, this wholesale destruction of the American people's benefits isn't enough. And then you have the other side of their caucus saying, we're definitely going to lose our jobs if we vote for this. And, you know, what's being said to, I think, both sides is that if you stand against this vote, you're going to be standing against President Trump. And they're using scare tactics like that. But right. A wise person once told me that the first and most often only election that politicians care about is their own. And so that's what we have to work with to block this really horrendous attack on our benefits.
All to pay for tax cuts for billionaires, presumably, although they're also talking about raising the debt limit by $4.5 trillion. Where is, you know, what is the language that actually cuts Medicaid? Is it some sort of, you know, mumbo jumbo, like, you know, we're going to means test it, or we're going to, you know, increase the means testing, or we're going to put a work requirement on it? I mean, is it one of those kind of, you know, no, we're not actually taking the money away. We're just going to change the rules so that fewer people qualify. Is that how they're doing it?
You can be sure that they're going to obfuscate and lie, because that's what they do. But where we are in the actual process, Tom, is that this is like the starting gun. If you remember, the process is so arduous and complex on purpose. It really is difficult to follow. But this vote just instructs the committees with jurisdiction. So it's like, hey, committee who oversees Medicaid, find $880 billion in savings from Medicaid. And savings there means cuts, right? You don't save any other way. So they're going to dress it up, and they're saying, oh, yeah, it's waste, fraud, and abuse. You know, it's the same thing that we're seeing Elon Musk and his black hats do, where they're creating this lie, this narrative that what they're doing is, you know, rooting out fraud, waste, and abuse, while this dude is personally enriching himself with corrupt contracts. But they're also, you know, you're like, you point to me on the 1,000 veterans that you fired from the VA where that fraud, waste, and abuse is, because all I see is a destruction of services for veterans. You know, same thing in the national parks. Is that ranger who is, or that firefighter who's fighting forest fires right after LA burned down. Is that where the fraud, waste, and abuse is? I don't think so. And Thom, you and I know I'm all for going after fraud, waste, and abuse. Where is it? Medicare Advantage, right? $414 billion. Defense contractors, right? Like, we know where there's real money that they can get, but that's not what they're doing. What they're doing is what Wall Street demands. So I know your listeners understand this, but if you want to see why, go and watch like Bloomberg, CNBC, or one of these channels where Wall Street is the main audience and target, and where their talking points come out. They say very openly that if you're going to give this tax handout, $4.5 trillion, which they desperately want, plus you're doing $4 trillion on the debt ceiling, you have to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And Wall Street's really clear. They never don't say all three. And if you don't do that, then the bond market is going to punish you. And that is what they care about, because that would mean that rich people are affected. So until Wall Street stops calling for their blood sacrifice of our earned benefits, the Republicans will continue to dance to their tune.
So explain to me where this legislation is at. You said that the legislation is calling for a committee to come up with savings. Does that mean this goes into law and then some group has to come up with cuts? Or does that mean that this doesn't go into law, that this sets up something else, some other process? What am I missing here and not understanding?
So this is like the starting gun, and then it goes to the committees, multiple committees, and each of them has, the piece of the budget.
So this is not a vote on a final piece of legislation, on a final budget. Okay, thank you.
That's exactly right. This is like a vote on the outline of it, and they could put specifics in, but they don't want to, because they want to keep the specifics as late in the process as possible.
Right.
But so now they're just instructions to the committee. And then the committees have the actual final say on what specific policies. And that allows them to go on TV and lie, pretty easily, because they're like, oh, there's no specific cuts in here. And you're like, that's true, because it's not that part of the process yet.
Right.
But if you remember the IRA, Thom, the Inflation Reduction Act, like the mirror image of this process. So when Biden and the Democrats were in charge, they used budget reconciliation to take on pharmaceutical corporations to get Medicare negotiation, to take on the extractive industries, to get hundreds of billions of dollars in investments in American jobs and clean energy. That process took the entire Congress. Remember, you have to do the whole process through the House. You got to get something through the Senate. You got to merge them. Then you got to pass the whole thing through both of them, and then the president's signature. And there's multiple choke points here, including in each committee, where we are going to be just throwing sand in the gears, slowing this process down. Our watchword is sand in the gears, hasten buyer's remorse. And that's why a delay in the vote, a defeat in this first vote, it's not the end. They can just call another vote, right? You can call another vote until you get the results that you want. And in the meantime, they bully their caucus members. You'll have Donald Trump, you'll have Elon Musk and his black hats, working the phones and threatening. But already they have public no's that would probably, depending on if all of the Democrats can show up, that would already sink it right now. So it's likely to be delayed from tonight. Speaker Johnson is already saying that, that is a possibility, which usually means that's happening. But this is the starting gun, and the later we can push the starting gun, the better the outcome's going to be, because the less time they will have to work with to loot the American people.
And that time variable has to do with the government running out of money on March 14th, right?
That's definitely one of them. So this process is so complicated. But yes, the resolution actually is like the whole Congress, but also is related to the CR itself, which is also, also sort of related to the debt ceiling. And those are two big choke points that the elected Democrats will have to actually, shut down what's going on. and say, we're not going to give you the vote. The Republicans can't pass anything on their own. You remember last Congress, it was the least productive Congress in modern history, maybe in American history. So they're going to need Democratic votes, and the Democrats can say,
good luck,
absolutely
Charlie.
no cuts, no cuts to Social Security, no cuts to Medicare, no cuts to Medicaid, and remove as much harm as possible.
Yeah, I totally get it. We have a little more than just a minute here, Alex. What can people do? People who are listening right now who want to help throw sand in the gears.
So go on social media. Social Security Works. Find us. We have all these graphics with everyone's phone number. We have the 17 frontline Republicans. Those are the priority districts. They won by fewer people than healthcare they're going to take away. We're running billboard trucks through all of those districts, just letting everybody know that that's what's going on. And also just call the switchboard, call your member. If you're in these districts, it's super important, but everyone should be hearing about this now. So 202-224-3121, the Capitol switchboard, which your listeners know very well. Make your voice heard right now. Absolutely not one penny of cuts to Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid in this bill or any other.
If they do pass this bill, do you expect that seniors are going to start getting thrown out of nursing homes?
What I expect is the nursing home industry will start to react before the bill actually crosses the finish line, right? So you're going to see harm before the law is actually signed into law. I think it'll be a little bit later when they see the specifics, but I would not put it above private equity to start exiting if they think that. And let me be clear for your audience: $880 billion out of Medicaid would shut down nursing homes all across the country, right? Medicaid is the largest provider of long-term care in this country, in most cases, the only provider. So it's a destruction of that.